be posted publicly online. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 6:30 p.m. This is the Highland NAC. We are a neighborhood committee sponsored by the city, and this is our annual election meeting, so it's a little different than our typical board meeting. Everyone is welcome to participate, and votes are everybody here during elections. I am displaying the agenda, and I will scroll through it as we go through things. Real quickly, let's have our existing folks introduce ourselves. I will start. My name is Adam Gretzinger. I am the chair of the Highland NAC, and welcome. Let's go to Annie, Kenneth, Reggie, and then Ryan.
Sounds great. Hi, I'm Annie. I am a board member, and I also run all of our social media.
Hi, and hello, I'm Kenneth. I'm a board member and the recorder for this NAC.
Hi, I'm Reggie. I'm the vice chair for the NAC.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a board member at the NAC.
Miles, could you introduce yourself? And then let's go to everyone else.
Sure. Miles Glowacki, City of Beaverton Neighborhood Coordinator.
Okay. Anybody else like to introduce yourselves?
I can go next. My name is Rachel Thieme. I work for the City of Beaverton in the Economic Development Division.
Welcome.
And
Rachel is on our agenda tonight, coming up real soon.
And I'm Chase Landry, also with the City of Beaverton, just listening to what your all feedback is on the downtown equity strategy tonight.
Would any of our other guests like to introduce themselves? If not, that's okay. It's *6 to unmute. Okay, let's not dwell too long on that. First, I just want to get started with something that may be a little bit of a burning question. The governor has extended the eviction moratorium. I am displaying in this screen share the information that was provided to me about Executive Order 2056 from Governor Kate Brown. The moratorium has been extended through the end of the year. Landlords cannot evict tenants for the reason of non-payment alone. There are some circumstances where evictions can occur for cause. There is, we'll get this out on our social media to make sure we get this the widest help to people who are in our neighborhood. There is a repayment grace period that people can activate, and I'm displaying part of it here. And we also have a link that we can share about the Oregon Law Center that tenants should refer to when dealing with their landlords and the pandemic. I'm not a lawyer here or an expert on this, but I did want to share this update on the eviction moratorium just in our public meetings so it's well known. And I just ask that Annie get the word out on this in the next couple of days. Okay. Miles, do you have anything to add to this that I glossed over or anything?
I don't. Yeah, that's the same information I have.
Okay. And Annie, I'll get that to you. Now let's go to our guest, Rachel, to get started with our program. We kind of have a packed schedule tonight, and depending on how many people want to run for the board, some elections to do. So Rachel, could you introduce yourself and go over the downtown strategy? I'm going to stop sharing so you can, and then I'd like you to share what you'd like to share.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. My name is Rachel Thieme. Like I said, I work in the Economic Development Division, meaning that I work for the team of the city that is business facing. We work with a lot of the small businesses in Beaverton, most recently doing a lot of small business relief grants to help businesses stay in their spaces. Really, hopeful that, that our small businesses are going to make it and trying to get them all the resources that they need during this time. The project that I'm here to talk to you all about tonight, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, is a new initiative that we are starting called the Downtown Equity Strategy. And I'm here tonight to get your feedback on kind of the basic pillars of what we're trying to do with this project before we spend a bunch of money and hire consultants. We really want to make sure we have the right project. And so since the Highland NAC boundaries intersect with the proposed boundaries for this project, you guys are an important stakeholder, and we really want to make sure that we have the right project before we move forward. And then I also have some questions at the end if there are any specific community organizations, community leaders, business leaders within your NAC that you would like us to speak with, that you think we should get their perspective as we move forward to develop this project. So thanks for having me. I know you have a packed agenda. I have a tendency to speak quickly, but I'm gonna try to whip through these slides and then open it up for a short discussion at the end, but I will be mindful of time. So thank you. So essentially, we are mindful that BURA, the Beaverton Urban Renewal Agency, is going to be spending a significant amount of money in downtown Beaverton over the next several years. This money is planned to be spent on new housing, public infrastructure, and we want to ensure that this money, that these resources that are being brought to the downtown Beaverton area are spent in a way that results in a downtown for everyone. We are not looking to create an exclusive place that's only for people with money or high cost businesses. We really want to ensure that, that the downtown that is created as a result of these investments is accessible and interesting to everyone in our community. And so what we're looking to do with this effort is to really center the voices of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in our community, so that we are ensuring that we are preventing and then in some cases minimizing displacement of people and businesses in this area. So what we're looking to do here really is to develop a series of strategies and tools to guide this investment, to really ensure that we are providing the most good, the most benefits with the least amount of negative consequences using a racial equity lens. And so I want to just take a moment to talk about that really quickly. As you are probably aware, the city's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan that was passed by City Council last year states that the city uses race as a primary lens for this work. Like this definition of racial equity, I'm just going to read it out loud here. And that means when race can no longer be used to predict life outcomes, and life outcomes for all groups are improved. And so using a racial equity lens means that we are going to be really mindful of how projects impact people, and ensuring that we are involving and consulting and collaborating with communities that are impacted by the projects that are going to be happening, and ensuring that they result in the most benefits for everyone in our community. Really asking fundamental questions before we start projects to understand who is being impacted. So the three kind of main things that we're looking to do with this project are really tools and strategies to focus on displacement prevention and mitigation. So this could be in the form of relocation policies. If the city or bureau purchases land, what is our standard relocation policy? We don't have one right now. We want to develop these tools. The second one is building kind of proactively this inclusive downtown where we are identifying what amenities, including businesses or organizations or open space that are desired by all people in Beaverton. Is downtown reflective of our diverse community? If not, what can we do to incentivize, businesses owned by people of color to thrive in our downtown? How are we ensuring that we have affordable housing for our community? So this is kind of an exciting piece of, the downtown that we want. How do we develop the policies and strategies and tools that get us to this place? And the third kind of pillar of this project is updating and really changing some of our internal decision-making processes at the City of Beaverton when it comes to redevelopment and infrastructure projects. So we want to ensure that we are engaging community members who are impacted by these projects, and doing so in a standard way. So it's not up to each individual project manager, but we have tools that we can all use to ensure that we are taking projects through a racial equity analysis before they get proposed to council or bureau or our other decision makers. And again, this would apply to downtown redevelopment and infrastructure projects. Out of scope for this project would be efforts like police reform or library operations, or maybe the city's hiring practices. These are all obviously very important, but they don't fall under the umbrella of this particular effort. So we are limiting this scope to redevelopment, things that would be funded by our urban renewal funds.
Rachel, could I just
Yes.
ask, why
Absolutely.
is only race and indigenous in here and not gender?
So by having a racial equity lens, it doesn't mean that we are not focused on gender or other marginalized communities at all. It just means that we are using race as a primary lens, and with the understanding that that we have intersectionality, that people are can be impacted and identify with many different identities as well. We think that starting to ask these questions around race will also result in policies and strategies that are that everyone in Beaverton will benefit from. Does that answer the question a little bit?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So this is the proposed boundary for this effort. So the yellow line here is the boundary of our urban renewal district, and it's slightly confusing because the northern part of this project area also is the northern portion of this urban renewal boundary, and this is where Bureau is authorized to spend its money. So this is where a lot of the projects will be taking place in terms of redevelopment and infrastructure, but we've decided to include areas outside of the urban renewal boundary, including the Allen Boulevard corridor area, because we understand that investments made in Old Town and the Beaverton Central area will have impacts throughout the city, but primarily in these adjacent areas where there is already low and middle income housing, diverse businesses, and we know that we are going to need to really apply, especially a lot of the displacement prevention tools in these areas to ensure that that the benefits that are brought to the urban renewal area and the kind of heart of downtown are have a positive impact on the surrounding area.
Could you give us perhaps an overview of what the displacement prevention tools are?
Yes, we don't know what they are. So that's what this project is. We are, let's see, excuse me. So these are the three things that we are, as we are on the ground floor of this project. these are the 3 areas that we are looking to develop policies and strategies and tools. These are kind of the 3 big buckets. So we have not developed them yet. We will be hiring a consultant group to help us develop them. But we think that these are the 3 main areas that this project should focus on. And this is something that I would really like your feedback on, if these are the right kind of 3 areas, or if there's something that we are missing. So we have the geography here. And this is just an overview of kind of where we're at. So we had our first meeting at Bura on September 22nd, and we've considered that kind of the launch of this effort. So this is just right out of the gate. And we are starting to conduct some outreach to the public. We're going to be doing some initial survey work and a mailer out to residents in that geographic area that I showed, getting a website up and reaching out with community organizations to get some initial feedback on this project proposal. So trying to ensure that we have the right project before we get started and issue a call for consultants. And then, like I said earlier, that consultant will help us to come up with our community engagement plan and then develop those strategies and tools. So I would love to know from your group if you do have feedback on that, on the draft charter that I had shared earlier, or those 3, those 3 pillars essentially. So displacement prevention, building this inclusive downtown with amenities and things that we want, and then updating our kind of internal practices at the city. Do those feel like the right pillars to you? Does anyone have any feedback on that?
This is Knett. One is that some of our Asian community is not, they have centers that aren't in the downtown area. So just to be mindful of that, of those enclaves that are outside of, same with the Hispanic population. There are other areas outside of the downtown that are seen as community for those groups.
Yeah, great. Are you, are there specific organizations that you suggest that we reach out to as we're starting to develop this project?
Well, I'm on the vision committee, and Ming Chen frequently represents that committee to our group and brings up as an advocate for that group. You can get Jemai Cherry would have her contact information. You know Jemai?
I do, yeah, great.
And then, I don't know, you guys, anybody have a contact person for the Hispanic population?
Reggie has something to say. Go ahead, Reggie.
Well, I can't speak on that as far as, but for other racial, ethnic affinity organizations, I would recommend APANO, Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon.
Totally.
They've done a lot of work preventing gentrification in the Jade District in Portland along East 82nd Avenue.
Yes.
Also, community development corporations that are in Portland that are already experiencing gentrification and skyrocketing rents and community turnover. Rose CDC is one to start with. I can't think of others off the top of my head, but community development corporations out of Portland.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll put my email in the chat, and if you have, if you think of specific organizations or people that you think we should speak with as we're developing this this project, just to make sure we have the right project here, I would really appreciate your feedback. And then my last question, I'll just get back to the slide really quick, is just any feedback on this geography.
I wanted to give some feedback on your last question.
Oh, sure. Okay, great.
Are you engaging the school district and you know that that's a place where we can get diversity of the people that are growing up now
Totally.
that will hopefully stay in Beaverton. And it seems like the parents of the students might be a great source of, how you're making diverse connections. And also, just real quickly, is there a city or locality that has done a great job with this that you can pick up on maybe some of their work rather than just hiring a consultant to develop this whole cloth for us? Is there not perhaps another locality that's done a great job with this that we could copy?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely great work happening in a lot of places, and we're right now combing through a lot of other cities' efforts to understand what are some great examples that we should look to. We absolutely don't want to reinvent the wheel here. We know that lots of other communities are looking to do similar work. I'm aware of some great efforts in Gresham, for example, and we have a great person on our team who is doing a lot of initial research at this point, so that we're really informed as we go forward. Because yeah, we don't expect that this to be, a completely unique set of tools. We know that there's going to be good lessons learned from other places. But yeah, good feedback on the school district. We have not reached out to them yet, but I think looking at the district level or some of the specific schools within our project area is a great tip. So thank you.
Yeah, particularly the Highland Middle School and the elementary school, I forget the name of it, are particularly impoverished and are very diverse. And I would encourage you to at least speak with the administration of those schools. And there is a school board member inside the Highland neighborhood that you could talk to, Mr. Collette. And I think Reggie would like to say something again.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to Adam's comment real quick, and then add something of my own. A school that is east of our NAC, which is historically low income and draws a significant amount of students from within the central Beaverton NAC or within the equity boundary, is Vos Elementary. So it's going to be really important that that particular community is engaged. It's hard to think of like geography specific community centers in this area that predominantly serve the Latino population. So I think VOS is a really important group to reach out to, both English and Spanish speaking students and parents. The other thing is one common thread that I've observed through my work in the last several years in Portland, Vancouver, but starting to look at the region and country as a whole, is the role of real estate developers, investors, and speculators in fueling gentrification and community instability because of rising commercial and residential rents. I've already heard feedback from phone banking that this is a problem in even affluent parts of the city like Progress Ridge. So I know that this is going to be present and an important issue to address in central Beaverton, where there are a lot of businesses owned or rented out by people of color from all different races and ethnicities, as well as folks who are renting. So we need to really not center developers and the real estate lobby in this. There's been a lot of conflict of interest with policy over the last decade or so in Beaverton in regards to urban redevelopment and the maximization of profit of land. So we need to ensure that low-income communities are not exploited in this way, and that the real estate lobby is more strongly regulated so that they're not being subsidized by the city, but rather they're being held accountable to do what's right for all residents of central Beaverton. including low-income ones. That leads to my second point. We really need to, as a secondary lens for this equity strategy, look at uplifting low-income people and helping them remain in place and not create economic conditions in the housing market that fuel gentrification and redevelopment. It's not progress if a wealthy developer buys up a cheap piece of land and house. That's basically a teardown, but they are removing a house that could hold, 8 to 10 people potentially, and then replacing it with 20 to 30 units that are being offered at exuberant prices, luxury housing. That's not progress. We can't have densification with gentrification. We need to focus our priorities on supporting the existing population and ensuring that redevelopment is not going to increase their rents in such a way that they're forced to move out and then our community is destabilized. So this needs to be a central point of the strategy, low income people as well.
Thank you, Reggie. I really appreciate your feedback. And I want to stay to my time here. Do you feel like the focus that we have on displacement prevention, mitigation, and then creating this inclusive downtown are the right approaches to this in terms of the focus areas?
Potentially. I think it's on the right track. We just need to ensure that we're not relying on capitalist solutions for supporting all of our community members, particularly the most vulnerable ones. We have had amazing success stories with redevelopment and densification in downtown that does center racial and socioeconomic equity, such as Bridge Meadows. We are, as a NAC, collectively in love with that little community. I think we really need to focus on creating funding for social housing centered around various affinity groups. In the case of Bridge Meadows, it's older folks with foster children, if I'm recalling that correctly. So having those similarities and those intentional communities is really important in serving the needs of all of our community members and ensuring that our community remains vibrant and is not exploited and co-opted by wealthy real estate interests. So more social housing, more publicly owned land. We need more land trusts. We have, as a city, historically worked with Proud Ground. I think we need to scale that up massively and ensure that the land that is occupied by low-income folks and Black, Indigenous, people of color in our city, even beyond central Beaverton, that these communities that are housing our most vulnerable people are protected. And one thing that the city of Portland has done, particularly with Hacienda Community Development Corporation in the Coley neighborhood, is work with the city to ensure that mobile home parks are preserved in perpetuity so that low-income people will always have a place to live and that we don't experience massive displacements when mobile home parks are potentially redeveloped. This is exactly what happened in the late 2000s on the northeast corner of Murray and Jenkins, where Villa Sport is. It used to be a really vibrant mobile home park, but then the owner sold it. They obviously made a huge amount of money despite having it occur during the recession. And now we have luxury housing that is, honestly pandering to the Nike community. So that was a really big stain on the city's housing strategy in the last couple of decades. So we need to prevent that from happening, really invest in social housing and publicly owned land, and ensure that low-income residents, Black, Indigenous, people of color, truly do have control of their destiny as a community, neighborhood, and members of the city.
I really appreciate your feedback, Reggie. Thank you. Oh.
And how can others? I want to give others a chance to give some feedback right now, but long term, how can how can people get involved with your project?
Great.
And what is it specifically that folks like Reggie should they attend certain meetings, or can you tell us what the engagement steps are?
Yeah, that'd be great. We are developing them. So this is our first kind of run through with this concept. So we have this draft project charter. I will I'll ask Miles to send out the website as soon as that's up. We have a survey up. We'd love your feedback on that. And we will be developing our community engagement plan to see if there's going to be a group that we're working with the whole time, or we're definitely planning on a lot of very intentional community engagement as we go along. At this particular point, we are still really putting that together. So we would love your feedback on the draft charter. And these are some great comments. So I will let you know as soon as there's other opportunities to more formally get involved.
And what's the timeline on this? Is this a 1 or 2 year project, or
It is.
this 6 months, or?
Yeah, probably about 12 to 18 months. Realistically, we are, this goes perfectly into my last slide here, which is just that we're at this stage, we are finalizing, our public review proposal, getting our website up so that folks can comment on that, and doing some initial community engagement. So notifying people who live in the project area. We're going to be asking for budget for this effort. We don't have our full budget secured yet, so that's something that we're requesting. Our team is going to be doing some important racial equity training, and then we're going to be hiring a consultant to advise us and help lead this project. We're going to be doing some equity talks, as we're calling them, for our decision makers. And that's kind of our work scope for the next couple of months. But yeah, this project will be probably more on the 18-month timeframe overall.
And we have a comment from the gallery. It says, Virginia Garcia is a good source for Hispanic advocates.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know. Oh.
Rachel, we can also help you promote anything you would like on our social media. And Annie is good at that, but you can send it through Miles and we can take care of it. It is nice that we can customize stuff for our neighborhood. So we would be happy to help you reach an audience, and feel free to come back. And just one suggestion, I know you're probably operating within the confines of state law. We have very responsive state legislators. You should be asking at some point for a package of changes from our state senators and House representatives in the Beaverton area. I know they'd be very receptive to changing the ground rules. So I wouldn't confine yourself to just what is in state law right now.
All right. Well, thank you for the feedback and the opportunity to present. I put my my email address in the chat, and would be happy to come back to you guys with updates as we kind of move through the process here. So,
okay. Thank you very much, Rachel. If you would like to go, you are welcome to. I'm going to continue the meeting, and we'll have some elections next. Okay. Next, we need to do elections, and this is how it's going to work. In this meeting, I will continue chairing it, and in the next meeting. And after that, the next meeting, we will pick officers. But first, we're just going to pick board members. And the requirements are fairly simple in terms of a nomination. I am going to display the nominations I received, and we'll just get those going ahead of time. I've received some written requests for nominations, and those are displayed on the screen, and then we'll take nominations from the floor. This is a one-year term. It is not particularly for any position. The the board will pick its positions once it's elected. And if there are an equal number of nominations for the number of positions, we can do an acclamation motion, which means we don't really have to choose. At this time, I just want to acknowledge the self-nominations of Juanita Copperanis, Adam Gretzinger, that's myself, and Annie Pasprig. I think I got that right.
Yes.
Are there any other nominations for board members?
I'll nominate myself as a board member again.
Reggie, are you? I can't hear you very well, but.
Sorry, I nominate myself as a board member. Thanks.
I nominate, this is Knett. I nominate myself too.
I nominate myself too.
Okay. I have not heard from Jeff. I did give him the opportunity if he wasn't able to attend. So if he does not nominate, then he cannot be elected.
I can nominate him.
Perfect.
Okay, and that will just be subject to his acceptance.
Yes.
For our call-in, folks, you can unmute if you like to speak. It's *6. And you are welcome to nominate, ask questions about this process, and you know, if you ever thought about serving on the neighborhood committee, we would welcome you know, your nomination or your questions now. Okay. Again, unmute is *6 if you'd like to do that. And we'll just wait another second before we move on. Hearing none, nominations are closed. We have 7 nominations for 7 positions. So the chair will entertain a motion to select these board members by acclamation if somebody would like to make it.
I motion we accept the board members with acclamation.
Is there a second? Knett seconds. A simple yes, no, and everybody may vote, including the people who are not board members. Motion to approve. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please speak now. In the judgment of the chair, the ayes have it. Congratulations to this slate of almost 7.
Oh, sorry, that's Watson.
He wants to get in on the action, huh?
Yeah, he says he nominates all of us. He approves.
I think you're nominated for a walk. Okay. And real quickly, I should be displaying the agenda again. Officers will be selected at the next meeting. And the positions are chair, and that's what I'm doing here, vice chair, which backs up the chair, and treasurer, recorder, which does the minutes and some other official duties, and a BCCI representative, which is another committee that determines matching grants and does all sorts of other important stuff. So the board will elect those at the next meeting. This is all up for change. If anybody has any questions or would like to discuss the duties of any of the positions, let's spend 5 minutes doing that now. It's open floor. If anybody would like to campaign for a position or ask a question, please do so. Okay. Hearing none, this meeting is running very quickly. Next, let's go to the Wilson tree planting. Annie and Reggie, I'm going to stop presenting in case you have anything to present. And please take over and give us an update.
I'll start, and Annie, please jump in with anything additional to add. We're well on track for the upcoming Highland NAC tree planting, Sunday, November 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. Volunteers will be meeting at the southwest or southeast corner of Wilson and 20th Street, right next to the elementary school, but not on their property specifically. We're going to be planting about 25 climate change resilient trees to residences around the Wilson Park subdivision. We're asking for volunteers to sign up from the neighborhood to help plant. We have created a whole document of COVID safety plan, which was approved by the city's emergency response manager. So we officially have the go-ahead. We are requesting that people pre-register in advance, and I am I'm pasting the link to register in the chat right now. It's surveymonkey.com/r/YKVJVZY. For other information, email highlandnactrees, all one word, @gmail.com if you need any additional details. But the COVID plan can also be found via the SurveyMonkey link. So we are requesting that all folks register in advance, wear a mask at all times if you're over the age of 5, and observe social distancing guidelines consistent with the governor's orders, the CDC, and all that. Thank you for opening the link. So we're up to 16 trees that are confirmed with 8 different residences across the Wilson Park subdivision. We're still expecting some more trees to come in. Historically, or rather last year, when we had a similar planting, most of the tree signups came in within a week or two of the tree order deadline, which for this year is Monday, October 19th. If you lived in the kind of east half of the Wilson Park subdivision, we really encourage you to get a tree or reach out to us if you need any additional information. I'll list the email in the chat as well, excuse me. Further, again, we're hoping for 25 volunteers, so everyone in the meeting, please sign up. We'd love to have you with us. There's also an opportunity for specific leadership volunteer roles. So similar to last year, and if you're interested in any of these volunteer roles, please get in contact with us via the email in the chat. But we need a one person to manage registration, or just checking people off as they arrive, kind of being the point of contact at our staging site for the duration of the event. It was a great opportunity last year. We had Liz and Ethel. They were wonderful. They had a good time talking to folks as they kind of went back and forth, or residents walking by wondering what's going on. We also have a need for crew leaders. We're going to have people who are already experienced in tree planting from our NAC lead the groups of 8 to 10 people. And this year we're actually giving separate planting demonstrations instead of having it at the central site to help keep people distanced and dispersed. So if you're interested in leading a group of volunteers, or actually being the assistant to the leader, so maybe you don't feel up to that quite yet, there's still a space for you, and we could really use your help. So go ahead and email us. Gosh, what else am I thinking? We are starting to conduct outreach for the event. So visit our Highland Facebook page and say that you're attending, and be sure to share through your social media channels the link to the Facebook event or the SurveyMonkey registration form. But yeah, things are really coming along. We'll have one more update, I believe, before the event, just a couple of days beforehand. So if anything changes, we'll let you know, but we're looking forward to this being a successful event. Again, be sure to register online. We'll send more information as the planting approaches, but this is a really important opportunity for everyone to come together, build community, and take direct action to improve our neighborhood and address climate change right here in Highland. We're suffering from an epidemic of tree loss. So planting trees, in addition to caring for them and preserving them, is going to be critical in ensuring that we have a viable place to live in the long term. You know, I'm somewhat young myself, so unfortunately I have the next 50, 60 years or so to, you know, deal with the effects of the climate crisis. And right here in Beaverton, we need to be starting now, or, you know, 30, 40 years ago to start preparing for the effects. And, you know, we're not seeing enough of an investment on a citywide scale in increasing tree canopies. So all the more reason to become involved at our grassroots level and support our neighbors and, you know, have a fun time doing it too. So that's, I think, all I have. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Annie?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so I did make the Facebook event available. So anyone who does use Facebook, if you want to check it out, like I said, if you can share it on your own personal page, and even if you can't attend, just click the interested button on it. It really helps our reach go further, and so it helps us get up to that volunteer number. And I would also say that this is like, last year was the first time that I did the event, and it's just a really fun afternoon, especially just with a lot of people being cooped up during the pandemic. This is a nice way to get out and just still feel like you're part of the community in a socially distanced and safe way. And it's just a few hours commitment. So yeah, I hope we can get some more volunteers signed up. That would be great.
Reggie?
And I was going to say, we also are planning on doing a tree giveaway in January, which will have some information about that both at the tree planting event, and then if there's time at the end of this meeting to kind of give an update on that, that would be great as well.
Yeah, and to kind of tie all these different things together, in relating to the tree planting though, we are putting together a mailer, so like a postcard to the whole NAC. We're going to be submitting that text to Miles tomorrow for him to like use to create the language for the mailer and make sure it all fits on one postcard. It's going to go out to the whole NAC, and it's going to incorporate our 3 upcoming events, 2 of which you'll hear more about later in the meeting. But the tree planting on November 15th, the shredding event about 8 days earlier than that event, and then the tree giveaway event in January on the 31st. So we really want to get the most bang for our buck and make sure that all of our neighbors are informed and can participate with us.
Reggie, are you inviting the high school clubs that were with us last year?
You know, that was it was wonderful having them with us. That I will remember that for so many years, how wonderful it was to have people from all across the Beaverton area, students from so many different backgrounds with us. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic restrictions and the need to keep volunteers to a minimum, and also the fact that clubs are not really meeting in person this year, we chose not to reach out to clubs this year, and instead focused on just reaching out to residents in our own NAC, keeping it more local. Not that it wasn't local before, but just to if you all remember the planting at Fir Grove School in 2019, in February, we had about 25 volunteers from the neighborhood for that event. Just regular residents, their children, occasional high school students, and that seemed to be really good for that. So that's pretty much the scale that we're trying to recreate this time around. In the future, we will absolutely continue to reach out to school groups, prioritizing the ones that already volunteered with us.
Okay. And remember, we can also use the announcement mailing list that the city has for people who get announcements about our meeting. And that's an email thing in addition to your postcard.
Does anybody have any questions about the event or what to expect, concerns, suggestions?
Reggie, how long do you think the event will last?
It's scheduled from 1 to 4, so we're gonna really keep it short. I want to respect people's time, so around 3:45, people will be instructed to kind of wrap up whatever task they're doing and then come back to the staging site. There will be a raffle at 4 o'clock, like there has been at the conclusion of other planting events. So that is another incentive to come out. We'll be offering prizes from neighborhood businesses.
Do you have any motions for financial approval or anything else that we need to go over, Reggie?
As far as our finances, we're looking to be quite under budget on the planting event due to connections within my network. So that's wonderful. The planting or the tree giveaway, I need to submit the grant ASAP, like within the next week at most. I'm still working out some details for the yard tree giveaway, like where it's going to happen, or like, important details that people should be aware of. So that's looking to be around $2,000 or so. I think we already approved the authorization of a matching grant. So I'm gonna just submit that and provide details as they come together. But for both events, we're still a little too early to know how much it's gonna cost us. But I know that it will be under budget and shouldn't be an issue.
Are we ready to move on to the next item on the agenda, Reggie?
Yeah, if anybody has all their concerns or questions answered.
Last call for anything on the tree planting. All right, Canette, please take it away.
Sure. And Bernice, if you're not unmuted, go ahead and unmute so you can jump in and if you want to.
Okay.
Bernice proposed a new event for us, which was a shredding event that she had seen work out very well at the Raleigh Hills area. And so there was a lot of support at the last meeting for doing that event. So we've been working nonstop to try to make that happen. Bernice was worked on a grant and has submitted that to Miles. I've worked on getting some of the location information and it's come together really nicely. So the event is scheduled for, would be, if we, I'm coming to you guys for approval. We didn't actually have a board approval for this event, and we were just doing kind of an investigation. So at the end of our presentation, we will need to ask for approval for this event. At any rate, tentatively the event is planned for November 7th and would go from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we were able to secure a location at the Nexus Church on 22nd and Hall. They very graciously welcomed us to use their parking lot. As part of the event, we'd also be providing food donations to the food bank and to the Nexus Food Bank and the Tualatin Gleaners Food Bank. What we discovered as far as costs would be is that an organization called Northwest Shred provides truck rentals to the site and a person to operate the shredding machine. The paper is shredded on site prior to them leaving. 2 boxes per person is what we anticipate will fill the truck. And the truck rental is $800. We also would want to purchase 2 A-frame signs because of it being a parking lot and a street location. We can't stick signs into the ground, and so these 2 signs we've talked about before are reusable and would be available for other projects and events, and would like to go ahead and purchase them as part of this project. And then along with snacks, our total comes to $1,027. And let's see, we have submitted a COVID plan. The grant was submitted. We have about now 5 volunteers so far, and a social media copy went to Annie, who's prepared to put out the media posts once we have authorization for this event. Let's see.
Annette, have you pursued social media advertising in your budget?
I don't think we've included that in our budget.
Might I suggest that you...
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Bernice, we did, didn't we?
We did. The Facebook boost, the $25 Facebook
Yeah, that's
boost.
part of our budget.
Annie, is that enough considering we're spending $800 on the truck?
Yes, that actually goes pretty far, especially on a small location. So that should actually have a pretty good impact. But again, once I make the event, having people share it and actually engage with it will also help that event go further.
And also, we're on the mailer. We have submitted information to Miles so that we can be put on the mailer for the event.
Reggie, does your event have a social media boost? Need to? Just going back one agenda item.
That's right. We do have budget for social media promotion. Annie can speak to how much of that has been used so far.
Okay.
I haven't spent any money on either of the events for social media.
Okay.
And I would suggest that we not use Nextdoor for this event, just because we want it to be a exclusively Highland neighborhood event, and the mailer will go out to just Highland neighborhood addresses. Does that make sense?
On Nextdoor, I can limit the posts to just in Highland.
Okay.
If that feels comfortable. I mean, who knows how it will get spread that way, but
yeah, I didn't know you could do that. That sounds great.
Sounds like you've done a great job putting this together.
Well,
And
Bernice thank you, Bernice. You've been terrific.
Well, thank you for offering to help. It's been great.
so Canette, I believe you were working on a motion. Do you want to go ahead and make that?
Yes, I would like to move that we adopt this event or approve of this event as outlined in our grant. And I guess that's it.
I'm a board member. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion on this? All in favor, board members, please say aye, and I'll take the no's afterwards.
Aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. You got your budget, Canette.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we can go ahead and spend the money for the truck and for the signs, as well as the snacks and supplies. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good. And then we so far have 10 volunteers. I'm hoping for 3 more if anybody's interested.
Great. I don't know if I'm one of them, Canette, but I can probably help too.
Okay, let me know.
All right. Anything else on this before we move on to our next agenda items?
I just want to say that I think it's really cool that Bernice, you just had this idea and felt like you wanted to come to the NAC, and that it's actually coming together really nicely. And it's cool to see more people get involved with things that they'd like to see for our neighborhood.
Thank you. And I really appreciate having Canette's help, and because she has the know-how and your help too. Thank you.
Well, this was a great distancing. I mean, we're looking for events that we can do with the proper kinds of precautions, and this one fits the bill. So great idea.
Well, good. Thank you.
Okay. Our treasurer is not with us tonight, and I did not receive a written treasurer's report to read. Our finances are pretty much unchanged since last month. So I am not able to complete that part of the agenda. It is a required part of our annual meeting to provide a treasurer's report. So I'm not able to complete that, but let's just go with city updates, and then we'll go to board business and an annual report summation as we're required to do. So Miles, could you take over for a moment and give us the city update for this month?
Yeah, be happy to. Let's see. The first one is about ballot sites. So you're probably all aware that Beaverton had limited ballot sites in the past, and with COVID, it looked like we were going to be down even further, but the county and the city have been working together, and they're going to have the right information. The main library is going to have a drive up 24/7 drop box on the park side of Hall Boulevard before the corner of Hall and 3rd Street. So you can drive up and drop off your ballots there. It'll be ready to go by the time ballots are mailed. So that it's coming up soon. And then at the main library on election day only, they'll have a ballot box in front of the library to accept walk-up ballots. Or for people who can't find the drive-up ballot box, they can park and walk it up as well. And the hours on that one are still being determined. It's kind of a backup. And then at the Murray Shoals branch, there's going to be a walk-up box for several hours per day for the 5 days leading up to the election and election day until 8 p.m. when polls close on Friday, October 30th through Tuesday, November 3rd. The specific hours they're still working on that, and we'll update the websites when we have that information. So more options to drop off your ballots. And I know the county is working on other ones throughout the area, but these are kind of city sponsored ballot sites. And then we are interim city manager recruitment. So you're probably all aware we're hiring an interim city manager to support the new city charter implementation. January 1st, we transitioned from a mayor council to a council manager form of government. From the charter changes approved by the voters. City council will appoint the interim city manager. He'll be the administrative direction for the city, support city initiatives and leadership to all city departments. Be the first city manager, and they'll be in this role for about 6 months and help transition all the internal stuff that has to happen for the entire government to kind of restructure itself. Applications are currently being accepted through the Novak Consulting Group. So if anybody has experience and wants to be a Beaverton city manager, throw your hat in the ring. And the interim city manager is expected to begin January 1st. The next thing is the virtual Fall Voters Forum. It's on Wednesday, October 14th at 7 p.m. It'll be online. It'll also be on the cable access TV, CTV television channels, 30 for English and 28 for Spanish translation. Our featured races include Beaverton Mayor, Beaverton City Council Position 6, and Washington County Commissioner District 1. We are looking for really good questions. We always ask questions of the candidates. We like to get those from residents. And so if you have any, you can email them straight to me. It can be for any of the races, for one of the races. The only caveat is it needs to be directed at both candidates at a time. So you can't just ask one candidate a question. You have to ask for the same race. You have to ask them both.
Miles, are you doing it for the entire, I think Lonnie had done that before. Are you doing it for the entire city for that forum? Or are you just offering to do it for us?
I'm just
questions.
We're accepting questions from anyone, but if anybody just wants to email them to me, I'll put them in the queue. I'll add them to the pile.
Well, what I'm wanting to know is we can get the word out on our social media.
Yeah.
Are we giving out your email address? Are we giving out Lonnie's, or like what's the citywide?
Let me. It's neighbor mail. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, great question, Adam. It's really helpful. I think so far I've only received one email with questions. So, and I know you guys follow city politics closely, so kind of counting on you. Love to see the NACs like shine. So, and that's all the updates that I have. Are there any questions for the city or for the neighborhood program?
Can you give us a brief COVID update on what they have been telling you for COVID extension?
As of right now, I believe mid-November, we're scheduled to reopen to the public, reopen City Hall. City services, almost all city services are available virtually or over the phone. And for the small amount of city services that aren't, you can schedule appointments to meet somebody at City Hall, like passports. You have to physically meet with the person to apply for a passport. I imagine with the news that we've reached our highest COVID numbers today, that will be pushed out further, but I don't know for sure. They're kind of making they're making the call kind of really close to the day we're supposed to reopen. Usually like within 2 weeks, they let us know that, hey, we're pushing it back again. And if you have any issues accessing city services, you can contact me and I'll help you. Whether it's technology-wise or you can't find the right person to talk to or whatever it is, I'm more than happy to help you get the services that you need.
Any other questions for Miles in terms of city updates?
I have a question about the city manager and the mayor. Have they determined salaries for both positions? And kind of, if not, when and how does that information get released?
Yeah, I think that they've developed a salary for the city manager. I think it's in the job description. I'll have to double check, but going off of memory, I think it's around 250 a year, 250,000, and then benefits. And then the number they've tossed around for the mayor hasn't been determined yet. I think it's 80,000 a year. It's a full-time mayor's position. So they'd be expected to work 40 hours a week. It's not a volunteer. It's a volunteer position, but it's not a few hours a week type position, the way it's structured.
I know this is not on you, but it just is super misleading that in the end, the restructuring is going to cost more for salaries than it did for the combined mayor city manager position, which was around 185,000 a year. So I remember in the voters pamphlet, one of the arguments that somebody had published, I won't name who, was that the mayor is making way too much money right now, and that's not okay. And then now it's going to be even more expensive. So I just hope we choose the right candidate that is not going to expand corporations and their power in Beaverton, and truly work for each and every resident, not the business community first and foremost.
Yeah, you bring up some very good points, Reggie. I think
Great message for the council, Reggie.
Yeah, I'd love to expand my thoughts on that with you privately off city time.
Okay, Miles, if you're done with city updates, I can give the Park District update.
Oh yeah, just real quickly. So I just looked up the job description for the city manager. The hiring range is between 180,000 and 241,000, depending on qualifications. And then we also provide a generous benefit package.
Okay.
That's all.
Thanks for looking at that.
Okay. Moving on, I did ask that our special districts not send representatives so that we could focus on the more unusual business we had this month. And I am displaying the written update, which we will get pieces of this out on the website. Just real quickly, Conestoga and the Tennis Center have opened, and the rec center is now open 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. The pools are opened October 5th, and reservations are required. There are a number of programs that are available for kids, including out of school care at Cedar Hills and Conestoga. Halloween, the guidance currently is don't trick or treat for Halloween, so I hope people won't. THBRD is having a hosted event that might be a nice alternative to walking your neighborhoods. They have a bingo program, and trail usage has been very high, and the Park District is recommending that people walk parks if they want to be alone before 10 a.m. And please keep face coverings on even if nobody is around on a high traffic area. So there's a project at Fano Creek, and there is a restroom update at multiple locations that restrooms are now available. There is a survey here about the West Side Trail Bridge that they are looking for input. We will get this out on the social media for our NAC. And that is a condensed version of what the update would be. And Annie has this and can make use of this on the social media to get the word out on these things. I can't take questions because I don't work for the Park District, but that is the update, special district update. And real quickly, if there is any other board business, let's go with that. and just working our way through. Anybody with any board business, please bring it up.
Can we approve minutes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
You want to make a motion to approve some minutes?
They were distributed?
So we have a motion to approve the September minutes from Canet. Do we have a second?
Nope.
No?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Any discussion? From board members, please vote yay or nay.
Yay.
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 Yay. Okay, and the judgment of the chair, the ayes have it. Anything else, board member business, before I go into this annual report detail?
Annie, would you like to talk about the yard tree giveaway?
Yeah, so as part of that mailer that we're going to be sending out, we're going to start the initial outreach for it. And sorry, I'm just checking my notes here really quickly. But Reggie, correct me if my numbers are wrong, but the plan is to give away 75 trees. And we're still working on the details of exactly how it's going to work. But at the last meeting, I know, Adam, one of your concerns that you raised was how to make sure that the trees actually get in the ground. And so what we're going to do is a photo contest with prizes. And so everyone's going to submit their photo. And we're still kind of working out the details of exactly how they'll win, but the initial idea is to do kind of like a vote online, and the top 3 pictures will win gift certificates to local businesses. And then kind of the idea too is that there'll be a pre-registration event, and we'll be giving information on tree care and potentially doing kind of a 6-month checkup or a year checkup and see how things are going with the trees. And this is a way of really being able to target the whole neighborhood instead of just one specific area, and really kind of open up the tree planting event to anyone who is interested.
Yeah,
Sounds like a wonderful idea, Annie.
to add a couple things onto that, we're following in the models of the city of Vancouver, city of Portland, cities that have invested more in urban forestry as a whole, where they already have these regular established events. So kind of following in their footsteps, we're looking at a no contact model to keep volunteers and community members safe. People will come by a site on January 31st and pick up their tree and any other accessories like constructions, maybe mulch as our budget allows. And that's all without coming into contact with anybody. So we're looking at Beaverton Christian Church in their parking lot. We're in the early stages of coordinating that, but it sounds like we can do it. And then again, there's going to be pre-registration so that we can let people know when trees are sold out. Additionally, to the photo contest, we're also going to be incorporating monitoring and like follow-up site visits, which is what other cities do to collect data on if the tree got planted, if it's missing, if it's still on the porch, if it's dead. So this will happen like probably within a month after the event, so that we can make sure that our volunteer hours for that are counted before the grant reimbursement is submitted. And then this will, again, like Annie said, happen like 6 months later in the summer to help, remind people to water their trees. We'll collect data on that. And then that'll be something that we can at least have to compare to other cities and kind of gauge how successful we were and areas to improve on for next time.
Are we going to measure the growth like 1 year out to see if they're making growth progress?
No, like I don't think that's super valuable. We can assume that the trees are gonna grow in incremental rates over the next 3 to 4 years. So typically the first year that they're in the ground, they don't grow much, but the second or third year, they grow a lot more. So we're just gonna be looking at whether the tree is alive. And if it is alive, then that's great. We have many more years to look forward to watching it grow.
Great.
So January 31st, Sunday, save the date, and keep your eyes out for a registration form if you are interested in getting some trees at your home. These are all climate change resilient trees, focusing on natives and large form evergreens.
Any other board business before we start to wind down the meeting?
Sure, if anyone else doesn't have anything. How do we feel about our December meeting? Like historically, I'm unable to make that one because it's the same day as an event. Is that something that we want to have, or should we cancel that month? I'd like to have a discussion.
You know, I would suggest that we consider moving that date to something that does work for you. We don't know what the COVID situation will be, and we could find another day on the calendar to move the board meeting.
Oh my gosh, though, like I'm still apparently acclimating to this COVID thing, so I don't think that event is happening this year. So it's really not a big deal. So I kind of rescind what I just said, unless you all feel like strongly about it. But I'm leaning towards having it at this point. Now that I've realized this, does anyone else have any thoughts about our December meeting?
I'm okay with meeting if we want to.
I think we just keep moving forward as we have been.
All right, that sounds good. I appreciate everyone's input on that.
We can address that closer to the meeting, Reggie. And whoever the chair is, it can move that date to accommodate or keep it as is.
It's going to be an interesting holiday season this year, that's for sure.
Okay. Any other updates for anybody or board business? Motions can be made if you are needing to make one.
I had a thought, Adam. This year is this, I believe, is the 75th anniversary of World War II, or the D-Day. Was that right?
I think so.
And that in honor of that, whether we sponsored a wreath at the Memorial Park.
Would you like to get some information on that and bring that?
I would. I could present that at the next meeting.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
May I add just a small tidbit of fun information about that, since Annette brought up something really interesting?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to the City Arboretum on the corner of 141st and Farmington, there is a persimmon tree that was recently planted. It is one of the trees, or it's like a cutting from one of the trees that survived one of the atomic bombings in Japan. So these, it's like a persimmon and ginkgo. These have been planted all across Oregon and elsewhere in the world. So we have our own one of those trees in Beaverton. So go ahead and check it out. It's a relatively new arboretum on 141st in Farmington.
That would be something great. We could take a picture and talk about it in a future meeting, and also do it on our social media.
It would be great for social media.
Email jlane@beavertonoregon.gov for more details about that.
Jay Lane.
Yeah, J and then Lane is like the street.
Okay.
Annie, I think you were starting.
Yeah, I have one little thing to add as we're talking about kind of going into the holiday season and looking at the end of the year that ties in with the presentation that we had at the beginning, that for basically all businesses, we're entering Q4, and Q4 revenues kind of make or break a lot of businesses. And so as you're kind of starting to make plans on holiday spending, I know like especially the downtown businesses in Beaverton are kind of coming together and doing a lot to support each other to kind of go through, because kind of Q4 can be a big push going into slower months, especially on the retail side for January and February. So it just feels like a nice tie-in from what we had on the presentation of kind of looking at redevelopment and kind of looking at where you're going to spend your dollars going into the holiday season, and thinking about businesses that might have struggled through COVID, and that spending money at the businesses that you'd like to see survive COVID is just kind of a good thing to keep at the forefront of your brains.
That's a real good thing. I almost wish we could like do features of different businesses as a way of promoting that.
You know, as your NAC chair, I frequently receive solicitations to promote businesses, and I do not participate in that. And we need to make sure that we are a fair, since we are a pseudo-government organization, that we're not promoting any specific business at the detriment of anybody else, just because we're not a phone book. And I just hope that we'll be careful about promoting specific businesses, just because it wouldn't be fair if we don't promote all businesses. And I do respond to those inquiries and tell them that, you know, this is not an advertising forum, which isn't the nicest message to say, but also I can't be running ads for companies.
Well, maybe Miles, are you still there?
He's muted.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that could be a recommendation that for the city to find a way to highlight those businesses and businesses that people might not know they could take advantage of.
Yeah, I'll look into it. We might have that on a webpage somewhere. And then you could just like link to that webpage.
That might help with that dilemma.
Or you could do it geographically, like support the businesses in Highland neighborhood, or our neighborhood, however you wanted to word it. But Adam is right. We need to be careful that we're not advertising for specific businesses. There's also it just gets real murky. Like if you advertise for one business and then like an adult club comes in and wants to advertise and you say no, then it can look like discrimination.
No, that's true. I mean, the sentiment is you know, try to support locally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100% support that.
Reggie would like to speak.
Sure, I just want to throw it out there because we do like to do raffles and prizes as part of our events. If anybody has a local business that you'd like to support as a NAC, feel free to reach out to any of our event organizers privately
and we can put that into consideration. I know for me personally, I like to focus on businesses within the NAC, but that's not always possible because we just have like one commercial area. So, businesses across the street from the NAC, but still close by, we can always support that way as well.
Yeah, Reggie's right. And I've been encouraging other NACs that are doing events, rather than going in and asking for a donation or a deal on the gift card, just to pay full face value, just as a way to support your local area.
Okay, we need to get pretty close to wrapping up. So I just want to give a few minutes in the annual report space. I've been your chair for a full year now, and I appreciate everybody's attention, and I hope that we are breaking the cycles of ceremonies, and then we're not just meeting in a room anymore, getting to know each other socially, but we're actually doing things, and I see that as a very positive thing. We've really picked up our tree planting and community engagement events. I have a different style than our previous chair, and I appreciate everybody's participation. We've had a number of matching grants and a number of highly successful events, thanks to especially Reggie and Kennett. The high school club turnout for our tree planting earlier this year was the highlight of the year. And, despite COVID, we still need to keep the community engaged. And perhaps it is an opportunity for us to bring in new volunteers and new voices. And I appreciate everybody's contribution. And, I didn't prepare a long speech of accomplishments, but despite the pandemic, I think we are doing really well at actually accomplishing the mission. It's not just to get how many people are at the meeting, but it's how many engagements and our lasting impact on the community, including things that we haven't even done yet, like the naming of the park for Indigenous peoples. These are important things that we can do to make a mark on the community, and I just want to thank you all for the parts that you've played in that, and I hope that we will continue that in the future. With that said, we are over our time, and I would like to adjourn the meeting. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks everyone for attending. We'll see you at one of our upcoming events.
Have a good night.
Night.